There is a straight line from the Human Development Report to the Millennium Development Goals. The concept of human development paved the way for the major global conferences of the 1990s on children, the environment, human rights, population, women, and social development. These summits hammered out global targets which contributed to the MDGs. Putting people first means tackling poverty, hunger, and disease. That approach is embodied in the MDGs. The HDR was designed to measure results. The MDGs set specific targets for a better world.
Among the poorest countries, we've seen some of the greatest human development gains. This report shows that the gap in health and education outcomes between developed and developing countries has narrowed significantly over the past 4 decades, even though the income divide, with a few notable exceptions, has worsened. The report finds that rising income inequality is the norm within most countries, that there has been major progress in most aspects of empowerment, but that there has been a deterioration on most counts of environmental sustainability.
We also find that the rates of advance have been fastest among countries that were poorer at the beginning, which is clearly welcome. So overall what we're finding is a so-called convergence in human development. So countries that were, people in countries that were less well off are catching up with countries people in countries which are better off. The important exception, however, is income, where that is not the case. With respect to China, it's an interesting case because clearly there's been spectacular economic growth, but actually quite slow progress in the other dimensions. So, for example, the combined school enrolment rate today is actually 1 percentage point lower than it was in 1970 in China. It's dropped from, I think, 69 to 68% over the period. Is that we've shifted from the use of literacy. I think in the case of the UK in particular, their relatively weak ranking has to do with adult years of schooling. So whilst all the developed countries previously were ranked at 99% on literacy, once one moves to a more differentiated measure, the UK does relatively worse than some other developed countries.